Hello, everyone, and welcome to Quest, a journey into true crime and the paranormal. I am your host, Misty Gaither, and I am so excited. I have a return guest with me here tonight. I have with me Nancy Orland Weber. As you know, she is a psychic detective, author, wonderful person, and I like to refer to her as a true badass and just everything, just a wonderful person. And I'm so excited to have you here, Nancy. How you been doing?
Well, speaking with you, fabulous.
Good, good.
Thank you, Missy, for having me. And I think of one comment to describe fun, feisty, and fierce. Badass.
Yeah, three F's and a B. I like it. Now you are. I was thinking of you earlier, when I was still doing some of my research and stuff, and I think one of the perfect, maybe not the perfect way to describe you, but I think it's really like a way to describe you, and that you don't let any grass grow under your feet. That's a country saying. That means you're moving, you're hopping, you're
I know,
doing,
I know it.
and that is exactly you. I
Uh,
mean,
but I think, just like you are, if somebody asked me about you, I'm going to turn the tables for a moment.
uh,
Um, if somebody asked about what they perceive in you, we're seeing a piece of your life and the outcome of what you love doing, right?
right.
So, and I laugh because I have a lot of coaches in writing and marketing books, etc. I had decided to learn my lessons finally. And one of them has always points me out and says, well, she doesn't say grass under the feet, but she says it's the same thing with her style of language. And I laugh because I sat out in the sun today. I chatted with friends. In between, my assistant came and worked for 3 hours with me. We blasted through sending 19 books out today of the
Wow.
brand new one before it's on the market. These are people who wrote the forward and they're in my resource. I want to thank them. But I also take time to put my feet up, sing songs nobody else will hear, make it up as I go,
Well, I
think
was.
of great ideas and write them. You, I'm talking, I'm a mirror for you, I think.
Well, you know what? That's probably one of the highest compliments I've ever got, and I appreciate that. To be like, even in the same, I don't know,
Oh,
vernacular or anything. I don't even know what the right word to describe it. To be in the same realm as you is truly an honor, and I appreciate that very much. Thank you.
you know what? How old I am.
I do.
And you've got years to go. And yet you are spreading your wings and you're doing what you believe in and you're doing it well. Those are the foundations of great success because life is worth living when you do those things. It's my age, my dear, that makes me sound like, oh my God, she does so much. I'm old, a lot.
Yeah, but you're such a good example. I mean, to so many of us, and like I said, like how you persevere and how, I mean, you of course you promote, you're promoted, and of course, like when you write books and you're on podcast and you have your own website and you have so many things going on, and that's wonderful. But you are just such an inspiration, and it would be easier maybe for you, well, maybe not for you, but some people that would, you know you know I'm not going to say up in years, but you know what I mean. Like, when you come to an age, it's easier just to sit back and just say, you know what, I had such a wonderful career. I
Mm.
did what I did. I don't have to answer to anybody. I don't have to try to impress
Mhm.
anybody else. I did what I did. I've wrote books. I've helped solve cases. I've, did this. I've done that. And to, just kind of go out. But no, that's not what you're doing. You're still making an impact. You're still doing so much, and just keep building and building and building. And to me, that says everything that I want to know about Nancy Weber in one sentence, because you're still doing. And to me, I think that's beautiful.
I am 81. I have never had a problem telling my age anywhere. I've never believed in the word retire. It's not interesting to me. If it was, then I would retire from whatever I was doing. But I actually do what I love and I love what I do. And I've always felt that was the motto that would get me through as a young nurse. A glass would break somewhere down the road. I'd go to the closet. I wouldn't wait for the janitor. I'd sweep it up because I like doing it. So when I discovered that I like doing, I don't care what it is, I like doing. I I'm not built to sit there and it's really hard for me to sit still and meditate. That's hard for me.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Unless I'm in nature, or sit outside and listen to the wind and the breeze and talk to the trees. Suddenly I'm talking to the birds and the trees. I don't sit quietly often. And that's just how I'm built. I'm made that way, if you will. And I think it's true of all of us. Some people, I have friends who retire and then they end up building a greenhouse for themselves and doing their organic gardening and getting the food. And oh, we have so much, we'll donate it. So we'll go to this place. And they're not retiring, they're always producing something filled with love. We just call it different words. But if you're retiring and bored, that's a different world. But I have so much as a friend who's 89 and in an authors group with me. He said, I can't die yet. I have too many things to do.
You think about, you've wrote what, 3 or 4 books now. You just recently, we're going to talk about it in a few minutes, about your new book, Soul Detective. And I mean, you've done that. You've, like I said, you've been on podcasts, you've been on TV, and what do you think a case or an incident or anything that kind of signifies, like, stands out to you the most? Like, what is a moment that you can look back and you can say, like, okay, that kind of solidified everything for me.
Before I became a psychic detective, there was one earlier one that wasn't a case in the same way that solidified why I would say yes to all of it when asked to do things. I was 20. I worked in an isolation nursery in Maimonides Hospital in Brooklyn. I was at lunch hearing two nurses talking about a doctor in the labor and delivery who strangled a baby and killed it
Wow.
in front of everyone. And I asked, who was the doctor? And the nurses clammed up, wouldn't talk to me, and that was it.
Mm-hmm.
So about a month goes by, and I get an order sheet with a new baby who's born with a lot of problems. It's isolation, so they're very sick. And I look at the doctor's name, it's a female, and it was the only female OBGYN at the time there. And they had said she for the doctor. And so I looked at it, and there was an order that would kill 100 people if taken one dose. Crazy, let alone an infant. So I called the doctor. She was very gruff and very nasty. And I said, well, then I can't give the meds unless you come in and sign off. I didn't tell her why.
Mm-hmm.
And I made a copy of it. And the copy went in my bra. And I'm standing there and she walks in. I show her the order sheet, don't say a word. She signs it, doesn't read, doesn't care, and walks out. So I called my superintendent and then I called of nursing and I had her call the chief of pediatrics. He came in. I told him and he said, oh, I'll talk to her. I said, no, you got to do better than that because I've got proof of what she was going to do, kill a baby. I said, so you got 24 hours to clean it up and tell me what you did. And if I don't like it, I go to the press.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a copy you can't touch. Turns out she never had a medical license.
What?
So that was the case that sticks in my mind of why I do anything in service. You never know. See something, say something, right?
Right.
And so that's my proof. And then when some grandmother called me about 3 kids being abducted by a parent at a time when that was a misdemeanor and courts wouldn't touch it and absconded from the state, I was in the midst of an attempted abduction by my husband, ex-husband of my daughter. So I knew what that was like, but I'm a fighter.
Yeah.
You do not mess with me when you're in the wrong. When you're in the right, I will support it 100%. But when you want to hurt somebody, hell, no. So I said yes. And she brings the sheriff's investigator with her, who looks at me and goes, I don't believe in any of this. I said, good, I don't care. I'm not sure I believe in it either. And we didn't have computers.
Right.
Not then. This is 1980s. And so I remember in the first session, we had a few, two or three. The first session, I looked and I said, I described a red truck, and he picked up a woman who he loves, and he took the three kids the day the court said no, he couldn't have them. It was a court fight. She
Mm-hmm.
had already had sole custody, and the court confirmed it. So he absconded. And I said, he's in Texas? He's in a place called Euless? I never heard of it.
Mm-hmm.
At that time, I didn't know every state and every city or anything. So I get the encyclopedia and I look, and the sheriff's investigator is staring at me, and there's Euless, Texas. And he goes, how did you know? I said, I don't know how I know. He said, we already know he took them to Euless, Texas, but then he left. And that's when I went to California. Well, I had a rescue dog lying on my feet sleeping, and I had named her Ramona. Ramona was exceptional in so many things. And he kept asking me the second time I was there, because I couldn't find where they were. I got California, I got sand, a little bit of, and meanwhile, nothing's happening. The mom's there with me. I'm describing the kids and what they're going through. And we don't know if any of it's real, other than Euless, Texas. And so I get California and I get East Street and a bunch of things. And he goes, but what city? California's the biggest state. And I said, I don't know. And at that moment, Ramona was sleeping. She looked up at me and I went, Ramona, thinking she needed something. And Lou, the sheriff investigator, said, Ramona, California? And I looked at my dog and I looked at him and I went, uh-huh.
Right,
Not
right.
knowing if there was Ramona, California, like I didn't know Euless, Texas either. And he was, by the time they got the police to go there, this is 9 months from the beginning. By the time they got the police to go there and agree, because it's another state, he had just moved out the day before, but the neighbor knew that they moved to Hawaii. And I said, Honolulu, and I know where he's at.
Wow.
And so Lou, the sheriff's investigator, went to the judge. They had never written a felony bench warrant on a parental abduction in the state, and maybe not in the country, I don't know. And so the judge said, well, how do you know where they are? He said, well, I'm working with this psychic, and she told me. And I said, the judge agreed? He said, yeah. He said, if you believe her, I believe her. And so I told the mom, that was Monday, that you will see your children Friday in Honolulu. He will be put in prison, jail temporarily, and your kids will come through an arch at 4 p.m. in the afternoon. I got the call. 4 p.m. in the afternoon, the three of them came out behind through an arch back into her arms. So we stayed friends until she left this earth. That one's in my first one out in the 2020 or 20 something, called The Life of a Psychic Detective. So
Okay.
it's on Amazon. It's also signed copies in my home. I send them out personally. I love doing that too.
Oh yeah.
And the missing animals, which there were three, I think, in my book. This is my latest one, Nature Speaks.
Yeah.
It is a different version, expanding off of a lot more in another book I wrote a few years ago, All Nature Speaks. But I also believe in rescuing animals. Uh, and I interviewed some people who rescued over 40,000 dogs since 2004, found homes for them carefully, took care of them like they were their babies.
Mm-hmm. Now you were like
Group
a
of
agent
volunteers.
or something for the SPCA, or you have some kind of background with them, like helping out, or like you were just.
Started animal communication back with a client who's was late to class because her horse was in pain.
Hmm.
And it prompted me to show her something. We called the barn. I told them where it was. It was. And that led to communicating with them. And I had cats and dogs, and I always loved rescue ones. I became, years later, when I started working with detectives and people knew me when I moved to Jersey, I became an SPCA agent because of one case. And I'm pretty sure it's in the book. I warned the SPCA agent to take a police officer with her and make sure his gun is out ready. I said, when you go there, there were two Dobermans that the neighbor called in was probably killed by this teenager. Now, and they were his Dobies, but he buried them in the backyard, they believe. So she said, why? I said, because he will have a shotgun at the head of the stairs ready to shoot anybody who walks in. He did. And they were able to take him, hopefully get him help.
Hmm.
Besides, anything else. But somebody who's that dangerous, that young, I think he was 15, and he had killed the dogs, shot them, and buried them in the backyard. So I've worked on crime cases, and then I became an SPCA agent. But the other fun part, the better network I have, is I met a woman named Amanda Borghese, uh, Princess Amanda Borghese, Rome, Italy. She's from Connecticut. She's a love. And she loved my work. And she attended my workshop at a place called Intuitive. Uh, and we became fast friends. And I would give workshops at her home. And her children were are Lorenzo, Skip, and Ilaria. And so she called it Noah's Ark, and it's in my new book, Nature Speaks.
Oh,
I
okay.
wanted to interview them, wanted them in for rescues.
Hmm.
And Amanda, our home was called Noah's Ark. Lorenzo would bring home everything.
Oh,
So
wow.
Lorenzo was a bachelor, as the bachelor years ago, in order for the public awareness of animals, because he was then invited in to places, the SPCA, the all the big centers. And then through different steps, because he brought home everything, every kind of animal. He just an angel. He started a foundation called Animal Aid USA, and Karen Talbot had always ended up rescuing one or the other and became the head rescue volunteer for Animal Aid USA. All of them are interviewed in my book on how people get into it with such passion,
Hmm.
such commitment
Yes.
that it amazes me, and I'm in love with it. One thing Lorenzo pointed out that I put in the book that I was surprised to hear, and yet it made sense. He said, please go to a kill shelter. Don't adopt the no kill shelter first because they're going to be killed. Right. And I never thought that way.
Yeah, I haven't either until you just said that. I'm like, oh, okay, that does make a lot of sense. Like, don't go where they are going, something's going to happen. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
And of course, you see it all over, kind people posting about how rescuing out, they were going to kill them the next day or what. Good for them. They get it. I
Hmm.
never understood that totally. I never even asked if it was a kill or nil kill when I was younger.
Hmm.
Yeah. Most of the animals just came to me going, feed me.
Right. Yeah. Especially if you have a cat at like 2 or 3 in the morning, they like
Oh,
with the wet food. They like to wake you up for sure. Let's talk about your new book, your soul detective book. All right. So, tell me about what's all going on with it.
I was considering, everyone was asking in workshops and classes and sometimes in social media, well, how did you get to do this work? So the life of a psychic detective opens up with how the police started asking me for help. Okay, so I did that. And I wanted to show adjudicated cases and the importance of it. Good. And then the animals and the rescuing and the missing ones, how you find them if you can, And also the fun ones about no preconception, no expectation, just go and do. Good, I got that done. I was really insisting that the questions I'm asked a lot over the years by a lot of people, these are the ones I wanted to share with them. And then I thought, wait a minute, I didn't just get that way easily. I went through some very crazy things and I didn't put them all in the book. But Soul Detective is how I got to believe and know, actually, experience, evidentially for me, proof that we are soul and spirit, and that all the horrible curveballs, traumas, call them whatever, they, once I understood how to use them after the moment had passed, how it could give me resilience, strength, courage, bravery. It comes after, not before. You don't make that decision. So out of that, I had created a lot of exercises for myself, creating visualizations and other activities, some fun, writing a lot because I know writing improves memory tremendously. So I wrote all my dreams down. I explore in the book all the different ways, and there are about 42 exercises and techniques in the book.
Oh, wow.
Right. And one of my friends, he was a printer of books years ago, retired, called me and said, I just finished your book. I love it. I said, good, if it's helpful. So my point was, you don't know me. I didn't tell all of my traumas. I told enough of them for them to get the scene where I'm told I have 8 hours to live over a doctor's mistake, horrific one, with a 2-week-old infant at home and an attempted murderer husband at home with her. And I'm going, you think I have 8 hours to live? You don't know me.
Right.
I signed myself out 72 hours later to get my kid and make sure I kept her safe. So that's in the book. But what I did and what happened as a consequence changed my whole life for the better, not worse, for the better. So having somebody attempt murder, having medical doctors make some of the biggest mistakes. Well, I gave birth 2 weeks before. The woman who came in the same time, they left her placenta in and they kept me on Pitocin for 10 hours and walked away and forgot me. Both of us came back 2 weeks later. She died. I didn't.
Wow.
Do you know what you know what that does to somebody? One, survivor's guilt.
Right.
Why did I survive? But in saying that and thinking at the time I had this baby keep me alive, she had a baby. So I knew how lucky I was that something cleaned it out, right? But I
Right.
want people to know that until things happen, they haven't happened. So fear of what's happening or what's going to happen can drive us down a road we don't want to go through. And so I hope in the book I share with them enough of everything from what happened to the steps on how we deal with those things in a way that's to me, I find I have a lot of wicked humor, I call it. I need to. I like doing that. And I think it's important for people to realize that however you can convert the pain in your life, because we know this, every philosophy, religion has always taught this. Yeah, it hurts you more than them.
Right. Yeah.
So, Soul Detective is how to find your own soul and keep it,
Yeah.
take back all the power.
Right. And, I was just thinking about what you were saying about the fear part, because, we as humans, of course, especially I know that I have that, you're always worried about what if, or, if I don't do this, or what if I do that, and you're right. Fear can control so much that it overshadows sometimes what the answers are, or what a blessing that you may receive, because you're so focused on the fear instead of the journey.
Exactly. I think of something very simple. If you and anyone watching this later or listening What is it? What's a dream for you? And are you doing what you want to do about it? Are you moving it in a direction, inch by inch, moment by moment, when you have a chance? Can you fit it into your life as a priority? I think all that matters. It is why I say retirement's not a word I would use no matter what. Even if I didn't do this work, I would always do something that I believe in because it feels good. But the stalling, I had it. Oh my God. Do you know, there's a huge group of us authors who are coached by some wonderful coaches. And when I first got into it, I realized most of us hated the idea of marketing.
Yeah.
Market? Oh, please. So I want you to consider your dream and whatever it is it what's in its way from moving it forward? Whatever that is, it's kind of like Jiminy Cricket, on the shoulders.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do it. Don't do it. Do it. Don't do it.
Right.
If we can calm one of them down to say, wait a minute, each moment is its own precious thing. Each moment. So if you can know that it's something I love telling anyone, your mind is an instrument, it is not you. It is an electromagnetic field. EEGs prove that, electroencephalograms to the brain. Thoughts are produced by it. Images are produced by it. That's why you can see memory sometimes. Some people can, some can't. But it's all there. It's a machine, and you're in charge. Your soul is in charge. So wouldn't you direct it when you notice that there's a thought and a pattern? I can confess, I couldn't stand my pattern of some things.
Hmm.
Absolutely. And so I would look at it and go, okay, Nancy, what are you going to do about it? Well, first you're going to believe you can change it. Oh, good idea. So I have these long conversations with myself.
Right.
Uh, right? Good idea. Why would I want fear to prevent me from doing? I lost a lot of opportunities early on. I know that. But those were my teachers of being angry at saying, oh, thank you, but no, thank you.
Right. Right.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, really great opportunities. I passed them right by because I didn't want people to know I wanted anything.
Yeah. I got you on that.
Right?
Yeah.
I know. So I'm saying to you, it takes steps first to notice the thoughts and know you're in control of them and you don't have to have them. What will you replace them with? Dr. George Goodhart was the precious founder of applied kinesiology. And he always said, nature abhors a vacuum. Be careful what you fill it with. So if you have a bad habit, and I had a few, um, I would insert the words carefully, like I loved potato chips.
Okay.
Oh, but
Oh.
they had to be very good ones. Thin, crispy, salty. And I grew up with that and I knew why. I knew where it came from. The desire for potato chips was to soothe something. I got it. And so I could go through any size bag in a day or two
Hmm.
at one point. And so I started discussing this with myself and said, I do know that potato chips are not helping my body. So thank you very much for reminding me. I would talk to myself about it. And anytime I had an image of it, I'd go, oh, I see a toxin thing over it. I would put toxin marks on it. I would put a skull and crossbones.
Right. Right.
And I haven't any in years as a result.
What? See, I'm gonna try
I
that
train,
for real.
yeah, you can train. It's a form, if you will. Some people think self hypnosis. I'll give it a different one. We all talk in today's world downloads, right?
Hmm.
Right? You have a nervous system starting from your brain, which is your software program. What do you want as a software program? Data in, data out. It does not judge. Your brain does not judge. It cannot. it will just, whatever you put in, the words you put in, the thoughts you put in, it'll form the software program. When I realized that many decades ago, I went, oh my God, did I mess up?
Right.
And so I just started noticing it and changing it. And that's Soul Detective in a nutshell. I decided, no, you don't have to have it that way, but you need the steps to change, and you have to have some kind of commitment.
So let me ask you this. So you've wrote what, 3 books, 4 books?
Or, yeah, earlier I wrote the same thing, but it was so poorly done that back in the 90s, I think, and that was before the computers and all the rest of it. And marketing was horrible. And so somebody has one of my old books on for like $800, and I
Wow.
got an email asking me about it, and I went, "It's not worth $3, honey. It's a terribly written book, no editor, no nothing. Why would you want it?"
Well, I was going to ask you, you've done those books, and I think I know you well enough to know that there's more coming.
Oh yeah. Oh, more
Yeah.
books?
More books and
Oh,
just more everything.
okay. So I know some people who always say, "Why didn't you tell them?" So I have 3 fiction books. They go back and forth on when I have a break, but I haven't had a break since the pandemic, really, in work and writing. But I'm going back to them now almost as soon as this one comes out. The Nature Speaks, March 24th. I'll mark it a little bit, and then I can go back to my mystery. And I signed up for a 3-day coaching on Writer's Digest, has a university, and it's nice and inexpensive for
Mhm.
anybody. It's a fabulous place. Mysteries and thrillers. So I'm taking lessons. I've learned, I'm grown up now. Take lessons before you begin. But I throw everything down as raw. So I have 3 books in the making, and then I have a child's book, maybe,
Oh, wow.
because I do pen and inks and then paint them online of characters, sweet little characters, most of them.
Hmm.
And I love it. I have a lot of fun with them. But my son uh, is such a sweetie. Um, we talked about something, and he remembered I used to tell him the stories about George the Frog and other stories when he was like 1 and 2. And so I've always wanted to do one called Baby Rocks and our Mountain Seeds. And I have all the images, etc. So I may write that, but I know nothing about writing a child's book yet. But I have friends who do, so I will tune into them.
Well, definitely. And you know what? I hope that you will join me again, to once you, I mean, even when you get these done, but just join me again so we can talk because you're such a, like I said, such an inspiration and just such a role model for me. And, and I appreciate everything that like you stand for. And like you said, if you don't believe in it, you're not going to fool with it because you have such a strong stance, and I really, that's just one of the very many things that I admire about you, and I do appreciate you being that way. But I appreciate you coming on again and talking with me about just so many things and
Thank you. But Misty, you are such a kind person, and I always have the feeling when we've spoken, and even in our emails, that there's a lot more about it with you. So, I want to interview you for my YouTube. So I'll
you're,
send you a message.
I would be so honored. Thank you
I
for
would
that.
love it. I get to find out more about you.
Oh, Lord. Oh, watch out now.
Your turn.
A good one, good one.
I love
Everyone,
it. I can't wait to find out more. You.
Oh wow, that will be definitely interesting, and I would love to do that. So everyone,
Good.
thank you so much to Nancy Orland Weber for coming on the show again. And if you haven't already, please consider subscribing and liking the episode. Would really appreciate it. And until then, I will see you next week, and have a good night. Thank you.